What's up guys, Dakota here and welcome back to the Driven Mad channel. For the first video of 2020, I kind of wanted to do something that seemed a little fitting, and that is to kind of take a look back at the Jeep and kind of give you guys an updated kind of what I still love or what I've grown to love over the past year, a little over a year that I've owned it. You know, some things that maybe I initially loved about it that I still do, or some things that I didn't really pay attention to, but now after having it for a while, you know, I found that they're really nice to have, and it's you know, kind of important. And by the way, I apologize if the video quality seems a little off. I've been having a lot of issues lately with my GoPro Hero 7. It just keeps like overheating and not wanting to stay on, and so I'm using my old GoPro. But anyways, let's go hop in the Jeep and get started. Alright guys, so now that we're in the Jeep, one of the things that I mentioned when I did my first top 5 things I love about my new JL that has still remained the same is the backup camera and the backup camera quality. I've driven quite a few vehicles. I work at a dealership. I've been in and out of a lot of stuff. And I've driven, you know, anything from $10,000 all the way up to about $300,000. The backup camera on this Jeep, a Wrangler, is the clearest, most vibrant, and the best quality backup camera I have ever used on any vehicle. It puts almost anything I've driven to shame. Not anything, it does put everything I've ever driven to shame. Like, I'll throw in some clips here compared to my my own 1LE and then a 2017 Tahoe, and they're just not as good. And I've been in a Lamborghini Huracan, same thing, trash. And I've been in a McLaren 570 GT, same thing, just nowhere near as good as this $45,000 Jeep. And while it's nice to have, you know, for day-to-day use, it's also really helpful when you're out on the trails and you're trying to back up to make sure, you know, you don't hit that rock and hang your diff up on a rock. You know, it's really nice to have out there. I've come to realize that more and more when I'm out on the trails and I get in kind of like a sticky situation, or maybe I made a bad call on a line and I want to back up, I can use that camera. If I don't have someone spotting me in the back of the Jeep, then I can use that camera and for the most part navigate everything and make sure that, okay, I place my tire where I want it to. It's just really nice, and it's definitely something that I think is, at least for me, is one of the standout features and one of the things that I really love about the Jeep. Alright, and one of the next things that I've grown to really appreciate about the Jeep, now again, mine is a 2-door JL Rubicon, and one of the things that I really love about it, mostly for off-road, and on-road is kind of, you know, doesn't really matter that much to me, but off-road, the overall size of this thing, obviously compared to a 4-door Jeep it's shorter, but compared to a lot of other stuff it's shorter. It's shorter than most 4-seat you know, side-by-sides. And what that means is it makes it super maneuverable in and out of tight trails. It's not crazy wide, and it's super short, so you can just kind of weave in and out, pick a good line, and you're able to just go through some very tight trails, or maybe you got to do a little turnaround or something, and it's so maneuverable, and that gives you a lot of confidence as well, because you're not worried about the rear of your vehicle gonna catch something when you're going around that turn. It's super awesome. It gives you a lot of confidence off-road, and it just makes going through those tighter trails that bit more like stress-free, because you can just fit this thing through, not have to worry so much about destroying your Jeep. And it's just one of those things that's just really nice to I guess it's a nice peace of mind that you have, knowing that you don't have to worry about, you know, the extra 6 feet behind you, and it's just a little bit more enjoyable on some of those tighter trails. And we'll kind of stick with the theme of, you know, how this thing maneuvers off-road with its off-road capability. I have done nothing to this Jeep. It is 100% stock. I have not done a thing to it as far as, you know, I haven't done any lift, no bigger tires, nothing. Not even extra skid plates. And the capability of this thing 100% stock just is crazy to me. Each time I've gone out since I bought it, I've done more and more stuff because I trust the vehicle more, and it kind of lets you know that, okay, maybe you don't need to have, you know, 40-inch tires and oh, there's a Jeep. You don't need you know, a 6-inch lift or anything like that to have a good time and to be able to go out and do some pretty technical trails and some difficult trails as well. I went out just last weekend or 2 weekends ago, and I was following this group of guys, and he was like, hey, why don't you go up this? And I was a little nervous at first, but he's like, hey, trust me. He's like, I'll get you up this, no problem. And I wish I had been recording, because you just leave this thing in first gear, lock the diffs, and I was just kind of blown away by how easy the Jeep handled it. You know, it was awesome. And again, just another thing that gives you a bit more confidence to go out and actually enjoy the Jeep for what you bought it for. Like, I bought this Jeep to go off-road. I didn't buy it just to be a daily driver. I bought it to actually use the thing. So it's nice to have that extra bit of confidence to kind of know most stuff the Jeep can handle. Obviously there's some extremes, but for the most part, everything that I've done with it, you know, it handles it well. You might scrape a little bit, get some rock rash on the wheels, and you know, use the skid plates, but it's one of those things that just adds to the enjoyment of the Jeep. And then, kind of sticking with, again, capability, I didn't really plan for this to go in a row, but one of the things that I've grown to appreciate, now my particular Jeep is a manual. It's a manual transmission, and the manual actually has a better crawl ratio than the automatic. I believe I want to say it's 84 to 1. I'll have to double check, but I want to say it's like 84 to 1 with the manual. And last time I went off-road, again, leaving it in first gear and just being able to allow the Jeep to just walk itself up and use that geared down torque to just claw up stuff is really nice. And you know, I haven't driven an automatic, so I don't even know if it's that big of a deal, but just knowing, again, that it's there, it's just really nice to, sometimes you don't even have to use the gas pedal. You just take your foot off the clutch and it will just go up anything. And it's super nice. It makes it a little easier if you're teaching someone kind of how to off-road, to where you can, if they're not super familiar with driving a manual off-road, it's just nice to be like, hey, you basically just take your foot off the clutch and you're solid. You never really have to mess with it that much unless you're changing gear. And that's something that I've kind of grown to like, because, you know, it just makes things a little bit easier. All right, and so then one of the next things is something that you know, I kind of thought like, hey, this will be useful, but I didn't really realize just how useful it would be, and that is the removable rear seats. Not that you can just kind of fold them down and flip them up, but the fact that you can actually just completely remove them. You know, because obviously one of the shortcomings of the two-door is it doesn't have as much space. It's not as practical as the four-door. But for those times that I've needed to kind of put something in the back of this, and it's just me and at most one other person, the fact that I can take those out, just completely remove them altogether, to have extra space to put stuff. You know, I've loaded up a TV stand in here that, you know, was a decent size, that I will admit I did have to move this seat all the way forward and fold it forward, but again, it's just nice knowing that I could do it, and just to have that extra bit of space, it's really cool. It's nice to kind of have that extra bit of practicality in something that, you know, isn't as practical. It's just nice to be able to completely remove it, so you can, you know, either fit extra stuff that you need to, or if you just want to take those out and keep them out completely and turn, you know, that back area into a nice little overland setup, you know, where you can put in a fridge and get all your camping gear in there and everything like that. It's just something that's pretty cool. And then really, one of the last things that I think is that I've really kind of grown to enjoy about the Jeep is, might not be that big of a deal to you guys, but again, it's something that I've kind of grown to appreciate, is all the ways you can connect things to the Jeep, as far as like charging your phones or a computer, your camera equipment, again, fridges, things like that. There are so many things that you can plug into it, which is nice for a couple of reasons, you know. So if you're the overland guy, you have so many things that you can plug in. There's a DC port right in the back, so you can plug in the fridge right there. There's a wall outlet. There's 2 USBs behind the center console. Then you get 2 USB ports up front. One's a regular USB, and then one's the, I think, USB-C. And then another DC input up here. So if you have someone in the back and you're going on kind of a longer road trip and they want to be on their phone or watching a movie or something, they can be plugged in. There's also one in the center console as well. I forgot about that. So if you've got 2 people in the back and you're going on a little bit longer journey, they can still plug up their stuff, you know, not have to worry about their battery dying. Or you can plug up your laptop if you're going to be out and about, but you still need to like do some video editing, or, you know, do some work on your computer. You can plug that in. Or again, for the overland guy, you can plug in a fridge and have no issues whatsoever. Kind of cool to have that available to you, I guess. And it's just something that, again, over time I've really grown to appreciate, as I've carried, you know, I've done a couple of 4-hour road trips one way, with somebody in the back, and it's just something that's kind of nice to have. It's a bit nicer for your passenger as well. All right, guys, but that's basically it for this video. Again, I just kind of wanted to, you know, let you know some things that maybe like I said, I've grown to appreciate over the little bit over a year and over 22,000 miles that I've had this thing. Almost everything that I initially liked about it, I still do, and then there's been some stuff that, like I said, I like even more. If you guys enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. If you didn't, then you don't have to do any of that. And also, just if you guys do want to stick around, I do plan to do some mods to the Jeep this year. Nothing crazy. I'm thinking maybe some tires and wheels. You know, so nothing too crazy, but just something to kind of change it up and just start the build of this thing, because I do plan on doing a bit more, hopefully doing some longer trips and some longer trails. You know, start doing some overlanding. So I'm hoping to get that set up. Anyways, guys, I'm kind of rambling, but like I said, I hope you guys liked the video, and I will see you guys next time. Take care.